Deven, good morning and thank you for joining us. Deven, Nifty is up more than 3% in last 2 days. Do you think worst of the price adjustment is behind us, and do you think we have a proper trading bottom in place?
Good morning, Nikunj. Well, of course, I think 6,000 would remain and act as a very powerful support level for the market, even going forward. Considering the fact that in another 2 weeks from now, we would be having the outcome of the state elections also coming out. And at the same time, we have also witnessed, I think, generally that the month of December has been a good month, I think, for the market. So from all perspectives, if you look at it, I think 6,000 should act as a good support level. Maybe we have seen the time corrections also, I think, in this particular period wherein market has dragged, and many of the stocks have also dragged, I think, at the current price levels. So to a greater extent, I think one could expect the market to go up in subsequent period of time. I'm not suggesting that it would be one way up, but at the same time, I think in every correction which we may get, I think, during the course of the day or the course of the week, I think it could possibly, I think, make a base for going above. As of now, we believe that 6,000, 6,350, 6,400 kind of levels in which I think market could operate over next 1.5 months.
Deven, hi, morning. Seems like Reliance is getting closer to a resolution to the gas pricing issue and a step closer to higher prices as well as higher gas production. Would it be a buying opportunity right now in the stock then?
Yes, at least an overhang, I think, on this particular stock, particularly from the gas pricing point of view, would get cleared. And that could possibly make the life easy for all of us, I think, as far as the stock is concerned and the fundamentals of the companies are concerned. It will take probably some more time to get reflected into the profit performance of the company. To my mind, I think certainly if this policy move comes out clear and the gas price hike is allowed, then in such situation, confidence for the company to take the initiatives to go for the further exploration and explore gas, I think, could remain on a higher side. But I think this must say that I think whatever we have understood in this particular game plan, it would probably take financial year 16-17 for Reliance, I think, to get actual effect of higher production and in turn the benefit of the higher gas price if they get it. But nonetheless, I think it would be a good move as far as government is concerned to clear this particular dust from the air.
Let's discuss Tech Mahindra at length because you tracked that one with a magnifying glass. Tech Mahindra yesterday touched a new lifetime high of 1750 rupees. The argument which was favoring Tech Mahindra about a month ago was attractive valuations. But at 1750, Tech Mahindra is no longer cheap or attractive. So what is in store for Tech Mahindra now?
Well, yes, the argument holds ground that I think it is no more an attractive stock from the valuation perspective if you look at it. However, I think if you look at the company's performance in the European region, probably I think you find that the dominance on the telecommunication space is gradually declining for the company, and that's a good sign. At the same time, I think the focus remaining on a stronger side as far as I think the business is concerned, which is basically I think driving growth for the company. So to my mind, I think going forward, you might probably see the companies like Tech Mahindra probably registering better performance. Even I think on a sideline, when we interacted yesterday with Infosys, I think we probably gathered that the Indian IT services companies are gaining a lot of orders at this point of time, both from the European region as well as from the America, and particularly so from America, where I think the growth is being seen on a larger side. So to a greater extent, I think one finds a convincing answer that going forward over next 4 to 8 quarters, you could possibly see larger amount of order inflow coming into many of the top line Indian IT companies. And Tech Mahindra being restructured company, you could possibly find the higher amount of business going forward. Of course, we have not put in numbers at this point of time to this particular argument, but do believe that going forward the environment is improving, and that should allow the company to sustain relatively higher valuation, though at this point of time it should sustain at these levels.
Deven, would another high-profile exit at Infosys, in fact the 6th one in just about 5 months, be a worrying factor? Or do you think the fundamentals as well as the currency weakness is enough to take the stock higher?
Well, I think current price upside into Infosys is largely on the basis of the higher weight allocation done by many of the trading funds, and that's where I think the justification or explanation comes in. At the same time, the headroom is relatively less, particularly for the likes of TCS and the HCL Tech. So from that perspective, I think Infosys is getting higher amount of fund allocation, which is asking the stock price to go up. But yes, on a fundamental side, I think such changes which are happening at the top management level does pose some amount of anxiety and some challenges also at the same time. However, I think with the captain on the at the helm, I think he is quite powerful person. NRN factor could possibly, I think, result into a better amount of talent coming up into this company, and that's what the better expectation is. So from that perspective, not too much worried, but certainly I think keeping a close eye and a watch on such developments when the top executives leave the company and whether they would have the denting impact onto the business of the company.
Deven, what is the story in tire stocks? Most of the tire stocks are moving from strength to strength at a time when auto sales are slightly sluggish. Rubber prices are yet to correct. Why are tire stocks moving up?
Well, I think on the other side, I agree that the sales performance is sluggish, I think, on the from the auto side. But more importantly, the rubber prices are coming down and are expected to come down further. And that's where I think probably the more amount of excitement has started into this particular segment of the business. What we find that the going forward, auto sales tends to improve given the fact that the infrastructure related activity starts performing well. At the same time, higher amount of spending effect should start coming in after the monsoon, should also result into better offtake of the automobiles, and at the same time the commercial vehicle segment should start improving because of the mining restrictions going away. All in all put together, I think the business environment should improve only from the current levels, and with the rubber price expected to come down, in such situation, I think the companies are probably, I think, finding favors with many of the funds. Also understand one thing, that I think many of funds basically want some of the ideas where they can have higher amount of headroom, and we are likely to see such kind of themes coming up from time to time, wherein they would probably ask for those particular areas of business where the valuation has been on a comparatively on an attractive side, and they would probably find higher amount of headroom to make from the businesses like what we have seen in tire. We could also see in some other areas of business, particularly from capital goods going forward and some of the financial companies.
What's the view then, Deven, on the banking pack and in particular Axis Bank? Because a lot of people are now talking about the valuation being extremely attractive and the stock still being an ad.
Well, I think the valuation stays attractive for most of the private sector banks, leave aside HDFC Bank, which has always remained at a premium valuation in the market. But other banks are still quoting at a valuation far more attractive. At the same time, the growth in the business is likely to be surging from current levels. We are expecting the better credit offtake, I think, coming from the economy in general. I think from the corporate sector, you would be seeing the better performance on credit demand should improve. In given situation like this, most of the banking stocks which are putting it at comfortable valuations or a lower valuations, probably I think they would find favor with most of the fund managers in their portfolio. At the same time, in case of Axis Bank, I think the kind of theme which is driving, or the talk which is driving this particular stock, is also the kind of a foreign ownership, I think, which tends to increase. So in this kind of situation, probably I think more amount of portfolio weightage is being given to this stock like Axis Bank. I wouldn't be surprised to see, I think, the likes of ICICI Bank also, I think, follows, given the kind of strength that they are showing in their operations. I think probably you would be seeing the kind of a growth coming into the stock price in many of the private sector banks, including ICICI, along with Axis.
Deven, the two names from the Tata stable, Tata Motors as well as Tata Steel, what a fabulous run both the names have had. Would you continue your long reco on both these stocks?
We will. I think the Tata Motors particularly, all said and done, even at a close to 400 rupees price, I think the stock is still available at around close to 10p for FY15 earning estimates of the company. So from that perspective, Tata Motors certainly remains in favorable books. In fact, I think any corrections, even a smaller correction, could be, I think, a buy opportunity, given the fact that the JLR portfolio probably is also finding newer models coming up, and the business volume picking up, also including from China, which is showing a lot of strength once again. So particularly, I think JLR portfolio and along with the domestic portfolio but in commercial vehicle space, after this mining demand starts picking up, you could possibly see Tata Steel doing much better performance on the domestic front as well. Likewise, Tata Motors. Likewise, Tata Steel also, I think, from the Corus's portfolio, where they have got higher amount of valuated products being sold, and at the same time, since they've stripped off some of the costly assets, I think non-performing assets, even the Corus portfolio, that is also suggesting that the Tata Steel global performance could probably pick up far more better than what we have seen in earlier past. Of course, domestic market performance for Tata Steel is remaining, I think, reasonably strong. So from all perspective, both these companies could remain in favorable books as far as the investors are concerned.
Deven, aside from mid-cap IT, the other performing group has been the entire mid-cap pharma space, the likes of Aurobindo Pharma, DVs, and we've seen strong price action even in Soven. So what do you like from the mid-cap pharma group?
Honestly, Nikunj, I think not a single stock I think we have spotted, I think, within this particular space. We continue to, I think, offer our preference to the likes of the Glenmark and the Cipla, even though the Cipla's performance, I think, has been a little bit on a muted side in this particular last quarter. I think given the fact that their formulation capacities that they have expanded in recent past, I think, and the kind of the offerings that they have now from now onwards, along with their better control on the cost management, I would think that I think the Cipla kind of company could possibly remain, I think, on a preferable side. On a side note, I think the Sun Pharma Research kind of a company could possibly be, I think, a better choice if one wants to look into this particular space for relatively long-term point of view. Because here there is nothing which is very tangible which one could probably argue on. So that's where I think one will have to buy and forget it. That kind of an approach, if you can adopt, then Sun Pharma Research kind of a stock may be relatively, I think, a better choice to add into the portfolio.
Talking about mid-cap pharma, Elder Pharma ended up a good 4% in trade yesterday. Of course, there were reports flying around that perhaps the French drug maker Sanofi would be looking at picking up this particular company, and it may be a buyout target. Deven, do you like the story in Elder Pharma?
Well, I think we have been hearing this particular story for quite some time now, and definitely I think the change of management, change of business ownership, I think could possibly bring a higher amount of growth traction. But once again, I think we are not tracking this company, so won't be able to give any specific viewpoint on the numbers which are likely to be coming, or which are likely to be impacted, I think, because of this particular move.
Deven, finally, what is the deal with Escorts? In quick time, the stock has appreciated from levels of 80 to 120, and Murd it was at 105. Yesterday it closed at 120.
Well, I think more excited about the kind of product launches that the company is having in the pipeline, which they have shown, I think, in recent past also in the overseas market. So from that point of view, I think certainly the argument goes well with this particular company for growth. But beyond that, I think do not know how much I think it would have impact on the numbers coming up in near future. We need to put in our numbers estimate before I can make a comment on this subject.
Deven Choksey, appreciate your time and thank you for joining us.